massive, and I mean massive opportunity for the Indiana Fever to trade for a player to make a big impact has come up. So we all know, we're like, oh yeah, you know, Aaliyah Boston's hurt. And Aaliyah's injury sounds pretty rough. It sounds pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Aaliyah's injury, like, she was injured for 2 months, comes back within 2 weeks.
A huge opportunity may have just opened for the Indiana Fever, but it comes at a dangerous time for the team. Aaliyah Boston's injury situation is starting to look far more serious than fans initially hoped. After missing significant time, she returned briefly only to aggravate the same issue again, raising major concerns about her long-term availability. That's especially worrying for a Fever roster already struggling with front court depth. What makes fans even more nervous is Indiana's recent history with injury timelines. Supporters remember previous situations where day-to-day injuries turned into much longer absences than expected. Now, with Boston dealing with another setback, the Fever suddenly faced the possibility of navigating a critical stretch of the season without one of their most important players.
And you've now got an opportunity to trade for a player, and there are a lot of situations where the Indiana Fever can make this trade work. And it is with the Atlanta Dream for Sika Kone. Sika Kone is a player that was expected to be a key contributor for Atlanta this year. The expectation by a lot of people was that Sika Kone was going to be one of backup 4 or 5s, and that Medina Okot was going to have to take a little bit of time to get ready for.
What makes this situation so intriguing is that Atlanta may have a talented WNBA level center sitting on the bench without getting meaningful minutes. Not because of injury or poor performance, but because another young player unexpectedly stepped up and changed the rotation completely. The coaching staff originally had bigger plans for that role this season, but the emergence of a breakout rookie shifted everything. That's why many Fever fans are now looking at Indiana's front court issues and wondering whether this could be the perfect opportunity to make a move. With Aaliyah Boston's injury concerns growing and the Fever lacking reliable size behind her, there's increasing pressure on the organization to address a weakness that many people felt existed long before the season even started.
Sika Kone is born in July 2002. She is 2 months older than KK Timpson. So that's the age. She is currently coming off an MVP season in Spain. She is the Liga Endesa MVP. That matters. That really does matter. So Spain is probably the second best pro league, probably the best pro league overall overseas. So the Spanish league had
Let's talk about who Sika Kone really is, because the context here matters. She's only 22 years old, born in July 2002, meaning she's still extremely young and entering the prime years of her career. This isn't a veteran player trying to extend her time in the league. This is someone with real upside who recently won MVP honors in Spain's Liga Femenina, widely considered one of the strongest women's basketball leagues outside the WNBA. And Spain's league is no joke. It's filled with high-level competition in some of the best clubs in Europe. While Turkish teams often dominate the very top of EuroLeague standings, Spanish clubs like Valencia, Girona, and Zaragoza consistently compete at an elite level as well. Many basketball analysts even believe the overall depth of talent in Spain's league now rivals or surpasses several other major European leagues. That's why players who succeed there are usually viewed as legitimate professional talents capable of contributing at the WNBA level.
This year, in Spain, averaged 15.6 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and won an MVP. Again, not the greatest shot blocker from looking overseas, but again, there's no way it's that bad. I've remembered her blocking a couple of shots in the W. But she is a 4-5 who isn't a bad defensive player at all, and could be available for.
Kone put up impressive numbers in Spain this season, averaging 15.6 points and 9 rebounds per game while competing in one of the strongest professional leagues outside the WNBA. And these weren't empty stats on a struggling team. She was viewed as one of the top performers in a highly competitive environment. What makes that even more notable is the level of players who have won MVP in that same league in recent years, putting Kone in very respected company internationally. She may not be known primarily as an elite rim protector, but she also isn't considered a defensive weakness. In the WNBA, she's shown flashes of shot blocking ability whenever she's received opportunities. Her biggest strength is versatility. Kane has the skill set of a modern hybrid forward center who can move well, rebound, score inside, and fit into multiple lineup styles. More importantly, she's developed a reputation overseas as a player who understands team basketball and contributes to winning situations.
And then Washington signed her, waived her, Atlanta signed her, waived her, and Atlanta signed her again. This is a player who is going to be a WNBA player. Is very much a case where she's raw. There are definitely things where you're like, oh, don't love this about her game. But the level gap between a Sika Kone and a KK Timpson is big. Is big. Like, Sika Kone is significantly better.
Here's what makes Kane's situation so interesting around the league. Back in 2024 with Washington, she averaged around 9 points per game in limited minutes, showing strong production whenever she got opportunities. Since then, multiple teams have signed and waived her, but the important detail is that organizations keep bringing her back. That usually tells you the talent is clearly there. The challenge hasn't been her ability, it's been roster fit, rotations, and crowded frontcourts. Atlanta originally appeared ready to give her a legitimate role this season. She was part of the preseason rotation and the coaching staff seemed to have plans for her. But things changed quickly when another young player stepped up faster than expected and forced their way into consistent minutes immediately. Suddenly, Atlanta's depth chart became overcrowded, and Kane ended up losing her opportunity through circumstances largely outside her control, rather than poor performance.
Means something. That does mean something. And previous MVPs of the Spanish League before her, I think it was Kennedy Burke last year, and the 2 years prior to that was Leo Fibish. Like, she's in good company. She's in good company with MVPs of that league. So I personally do think that Sika Kone is somebody that the Indiana Fever can absolutely trade for, because look, is she the perfect player? No. But they had an entire free agency period to try to find a perfect player and they fucked it up. Beggars can't be choosers, and there is a shortage of athletic bigs. There is a serious shortage of athletic bigs. So yeah, it's one of those things when it comes down to it. From like for the Fever, you've just got to make the best of what you can, and finding a way to trade for Sika Kone, because I'm gonna be honest here, the Atlanta Dream will have no issue trading Kone because she's just not in the rotation. She's just not in the rotation, and it is one of those things where there are good players that aren't in rotations of teams because they have too many players at certain positions. Like, and there are bad players that are in rotations because their team is low in certain positions. But when it comes to it, Sika Kone is like, she is genuinely a high level player who's had a really, really good season overseas, who unfortunately is in a situation where she hasn't really got a chance to playing because there's a rookie that is just better than her.
What makes this potential trade so realistic is that it could benefit both sides. Atlanta currently has a talented frontcourt player who isn't getting meaningful minutes, largely because the team's rotation changed faster than expected with the emergence of younger talent. That creates a difficult situation for everyone involved. A player who believes she can contribute wants an opportunity to play, while Atlanta has to balance development priorities and roster flexibility. From Indiana's perspective, the Fever have several possible trade options that wouldn't require sacrificing a core piece of their future. They could move veteran depth, role players, or draft assets in exchange for immediate frontcourt help. And considering Indiana's current injury concerns and lack of size, adding a younger, more athletic big could provide a significant upgrade over what they currently have available in the rotation. The appeal of Sika Kone is that she checks several important boxes at once. She's young, experienced professionally, productive overseas, and capable of contributing right away. She brings rebounding, interior scoring, energy, and positional versatility, all areas where the Fever currently need help. More importantly, she still fits the long-term timeline of a roster built around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, rather than being viewed as only a short-term fix. There's also the motivation factor. Players who feel overlooked or underused often arrive with something to prove, and Indiana could benefit from that type of hunger and energy right now. Meanwhile, Atlanta would gain roster flexibility and potentially add future value instead of leaving a talented player stuck on the bench. Ultimately, the biggest question is whether Indiana's front office is willing to act aggressively enough to address the roster weaknesses that have become impossible to ignore. In a league where quality frontcourt depth is extremely limited, opportunities like this rarely stay available for long.